Alright, YouTube, all eyes on the Oroville Dam system. There's a lot of clickbait being passed around as real by people saying, oh, the dam is going to go, everything will be destroyed, California will be wiped off the face of the earth. None of these things are true. You have a bad situation at the Oroville Dam, and I wouldn't be personally optimistic that they'll be able to solve it before Wednesday. When additional rain begins falling, they could end up they could have a spillway collapse on either end when that happens. At the very least, damage will be significant, I'm sure. So it's not an optimistic situation. People, I think 300,000 people have been evacuated from the valley below. As far as I know, they haven't lifted that order, and they probably won't for some time to come. So a lot of these people are up shit creek, especially if the spillway collapses. The problem is this. What happened is that the spillway that they normally use for this dam was damaged. There was a sinkhole, a collapse under it, gaping crater appeared in it. They couldn't use it anymore because if you have water flowing down it, when you've got a crater there, it will begin to erode that in both directions potentially. It will make it larger, and over time you don't have a spillway anymore, honestly. It looks like it was improperly built, or the ground gave way under it, or something happened. Not exactly sure what. I'm not sure that they know. But they thankfully have an emergency spillway, which is a concrete barrier along the top ridge of the dam itself that's designed to drain water. If it reaches a certain threshold, it tops this concrete embankment and goes down the hill. And it sort of helps keep things from imploding outwards. Unfortunately, that began to erode too. I believe that the tale was that they had not tested it since 1968, so not necessarily the most modern engineering that could possibly be involved in such an earthwork dam. And that's a little bit of a problem because, of course, if this concrete embankment completely erodes and goes sloshing off, if it breaks, you get a 30-foot wall of water charging downriver. And that would wipe out Oroville. It would wipe out most of the surrounding communities. It would then charge down river further. I believe Yuba City's been half evacuated too at this point, along with some other outlying districts. So it would be a catastrophe for the local economy. It would literally wash away much of their productivity, leaving thousands and thousands of homes completely gone. Most of what's still standing would be basically useless and have to be torn down anyway. You have a building, its two lower floors are completely, utterly flooded. There's not a whole lot to be done about that. You're going to be fighting mildew for the next generation if you leave it standing anyway. What's the point? Just burn it to the ground and remove the debris and rebuild it, I suppose. So it is a massive state of emergency, huge evacuation order, huge risk to life of anyone remaining in that area. Someone's camping out in the woods down in that valley and the spillway goes, they're dead. You're going to find their bloated corpse if you find it at all. Not going to find them alive, that's for fucking sure. But the dam itself is not at risk of collapsing. It's the spillway that's at risk. Now here's why it's a dreary situation. The emergency spillway is badly damaged. They've been trying to shore it up, and they're currently working frantically to shore it up more before the rain begins anew. The problem is that the other spillway had to be brought back into use. They had shut it down and used the emergency spillway to try to survey damage and then repair it so that this wouldn't be a problem. But when the emergency spillway began to erode, they had to drain that pressure off the main spillway again. What's happened now is that original crater has grown substantially. It's now more damaged. It's now more unstable. How much longer would they be able to use it if the rain comes down extra hard? The levels begin rising again, and that emergency spillway once again begins to destabilize, and they have to open up the main spillway again. Are they even going to have a spillway when they're done draining it? Or are they going to have to rebuild the whole thing? Will it even hold up? Because if that concrete continues to erode uphill, as it appears to be doing, towards the actual spillway gate, it could collapse that too. And then you have the same shitty situation of a 30-foot wall of water charging downriver. It then probably, in an erosive fashion, will eat away at the surrounding ground and enlarge its own hole, and you have a shit-hits-the-fan situation. What the hell are you going to do about it? You have to wait till the water drains off, then desperately try to rebuild. Just like you were building it in the first place. It'd be a nightmare scenario for California's economy. It'd be a nightmare scenario for hundreds of thousands of people whose residences is in that area. But as of this time, the dam itself is not at hazard. It's the spillways that are fucked. It wouldn't destroy all of California. We're talking about one river valley, not the entire state. And number 3, there is the possibility they'll be able to fix this problem. Would I be optimistic whether they can fix the problem? Judging from the size of the hole in their main spillway and how little time they have to shore up the emergency spillway, and the fact that storms are predicted to roll through that area, bringing above average rain yet again onto a lake that is already well above its historic levels, I'm not optimistic. I think it's very likely that the one or both spillways will erode away, and they will have a significant problem. Whether they collapse entirely or whether you get something else going on remains to be seen. But they can at least try. It hasn't given way yet. The way some people were talking last night, it's made it sound as though the dam had already completely crumbled. Water was already gushing out. There was nothing they could do. There wasn't even going to be an attempt made. It was basically flee for your lives into the hills and so forth. That hasn't actually happened. If it does, then it probably would happen Wednesday or Thursday. And it's possible. Yeah, it's possible the spillway gives way and several towns are completely destroyed, along with the outlying regions of some of these other settlements in this valley. It'd flood the whole area, and the dam probably would further erode until the water level is low enough so that it stabilizes. Then they'd have to go in after everything downriver is already completely fucked, and they'd have to try to repair it again. Their spillway would be gone at that point. Both spillways would probably have crumbled off into the water. They'd just be sitting at the bottom of the hill as completely crumbled debris. Well, you look at the hole in their main spillway, I would not be optimistic that they can solve that particular problem, which means that they potentially have to just keep shoring up the emergency spillway and use that. Otherwise, they blast their own main spillway off the side of the hill entirely, and they have the same problem that they would have if the emergency spillway went. They've been dropping boulders in bags into this area to try to shore it up, to keep it from eroding, to, I guess, prevent the pressure from wearing away underneath it. So what I believe is happening is that underneath the emergency embankment, the concrete embankment, the underlying sort of rock and dirt is being blasted out slowly. The water pressure was so great it was sort of scoring this area out. I guess the worry is that it'll spring a leak below there, significant enough to actually cause the entire concrete embankment to fall off of the side of the hill. And there's not a whole lot you'd be able to do about that. You'd have to wait. You'd have to sit back and wait while the water level flows over that and lowers down to a trickle, a 30-foot wall of water, before you could attempt to repair, actually. And that would probably involve, I would think, the main spillway anyway, to take pressure off it while you're repairing it. So they'd have to redivert it to the damaged main spillway, rebuild the emergency spillway, try to keep that stable. Then they'd have to shut off the main spillway again, move in there to attempt to repair, with no guarantee that the emergency spillway holds up the second time on an already damaged hillside. It's a difficult scenario. I don't know if it's going to end well, but as of right now, it's not a total shit hits the fan scenario. It's a general evacuation in a precautionary manner. They say that they're optimistic. Oh yeah, we think we can repair this damage and get this taken care of. Are you sure? Or are you just trying to put on a happy face before you tell these people that their homes have been destroyed? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But that's all that we can do. Without being on the ground there and without, knowing much about engineering, you can't really make that determination. I'm going to assume that the engineers there are at least cautiously optimistic they can sort of solve the problem. I guess it also depends on how much rain falls on Wednesday when it rolls through California. If the system moves and they get less precipitation in this particular basin, maybe things are better than otherwise. But there's no guarantee that that will happen. It could be a total nightmare. We could wake up, Wednesday morning, find that it's already blown both spillways. The water level's lower now because the water just surged on downstream and destroyed several communities. We could find that. But when people are posting clickbait about the dam going, or about it's already broken, or it's imminent that it will fail, and even like the local news was saying a failure was imminent, when they're posting that, it's clickbait. It's essentially, hey, look at us, we're covering this live and we want you to be alarmed and hope that you're about to see a total butchery scenario or something like that. It's pretty low when the local news was reporting that. And then, of course, today you watch the coverage. It's a little bit different, slightly more optimistic. Not much, though. I would think they would already have a pretty accurate appraisal of whether they can get this fixed and how much rain's going to fall and if it'll hold. That wouldn't make me optimistic if my home were in that situation. If I was living in the area, yeah, I would have evacuated. I wouldn't have brought much with me. I would have gotten out as ASAP, honestly. And then they clogged up the roads in both directions. They were all sorts of fucked when people were evacuating. You know, hundreds of thousands of people. It's a lot of automobiles to be traveling on some of those roads. They had like RV centers and hotels and stuff. They were all overflowed. And they had to let them drive across a military base, I guess, to go uphill to get out of the line of damage should it go and so forth. It was a weird situation watching the live coverage. Then I had to go to bed. I expected maybe when I got up that it would have blown. It looks like it has held so far, but I mean, take a look at the fucking hole in their main spillway. That will erode further if they have to use that to siphon off water pressure, and they may very well have to do that. And while they're doing that, while the water is flowing down, they can't repair it. They can't make that situation better. I would assume they're probably trying to repair everything as quickly as possible, but will they be capable of doing that? Who knows? That's about all. Peace out.